We've got CNN's Daniel Dale, and obviously huge Raptors fan, on the line with us now. Daniel, how are you?
I'm good, Alex. How are you?
Good. By the way, you're responsible for one of our 1-star reviews. Last time you came on, someone didn't even listen to the episode and just said the Raptors show has gone political. So appreciate it.
Anytime I can bring you guys down. I'm happy to do so.
Oh man, listen. Obviously, I was hoping today we were going to talk about Game 7 between the Raptors and the Sixers and go down memory lane to remember 2001 Raptors-Sixers and 2019. But we have to pivot and talk about and reflect on this 2021-2022 season. And I thought we would do a quick roundtable. I can host this, and you, Daniel, and Will. I'm going to ask the two of you 5 questions just to kind of get your thoughts on things. So let's start with you, Daniel. When you look back at just this Raptors-Sixers series, what's your biggest takeaway on the Raptors side?
Biggest takeaway, I would say lack of shooting. I think we love the weirdo roster. We loved so-called Vision 6'9", as the Twitter sphere likes to call it. We love Scotty. We love the potential, but there's just a glaring hole on this roster, and you can funk it up, and you can have everyone be large and the same height, but if you can't make threes in the modern league, you're not going to win.
Yeah, that was a good one. I was going to say that as well because so the Raptors ended up shooting 29.9% for the 6 games from 3. The only teams below those were the Pelicans at 26%, the Suns, surprisingly, at 27%, and the Utah Jazz at 29.8%. Obviously, those, the Bulls were also right there as well at 28%. So, it's not good. They also made less than 10 per game, and
I haven't redeemed free McDonald's fries in like a week.
Yeah,
I know this. Yeah.
That's. I'm so sorry for your loss, Alex. And also the Raptors got bounced to the playoffs, but also the last 3 games of the series, which the Raptors did win 2, to be fair. But the last 3 games of the series, the Raptors shot 23 for 100.
Oh man,
from 3. So you definitely need more shooting in the NBA. And look, listen, I think the all 6'9" thing is really, really cute. It's really fun, but it also reminds me a little bit of when I was growing up and our family didn't have all that much. And my parents would just be like, we might not have this, but you have this other thing that's just exactly like this. It's just fine, It might not be Nike, but it has like
yeah, it might not be
N-I-K-E-Y.
it might not be Coca-Cola, but we got the PC Cola.
Yeah, exactly. Which I think you're totally fine with going through life and all that stuff. I think it's all cool, but realistically, you at the highest level is when you're really looking at a team like the Sixers, who, I started growing envious. I was like, damn, look, they have Danny Green?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, what am I doing?
Totally.
I'm envious that they have Danny Green. But that's true, though. Danny had 4 threes in the first half, and the Raptors only had 2 as a team. So shooting has to improve. I agree with you, Daniel. But I think the other part is to be more positive about it. I think Pascal addressed a lot of the allegations.
Yeah.
You come through, and obviously the bubble was something that was so heavily imprinted into people's minds of like, wow, I can't believe how much he struggled in that series. It somehow overshadowed what he did over the course of the championship, which to me feels unbalanced, but okay, fine. I understand for a lot of people that had a sour taste in their mouths based on the bubble. To see him come through in this series, what he did, obviously in games 4 and 5, to push them through and on the brink of elimination. And even yesterday, I thought he played amazing in his role.
Okay.
But eventually the Sixers will hard trap you, and there's nothing you can do about that. You just can't expect him to shoot over double teams or anything like that. Him moving the ball around, the rest of the guys couldn't really make shots. I still thought he played his role really, really well. So what do you have, 24, 7, and 7? So I'm really happy for Pascal. What he averaged in the regular season is what he ultimately averaged in the playoffs in terms of efficiency, in terms of play creation. And Daniel, I'm sure seeing his journey and sort of everything that he's gone through, you have to also be really happy for him as a person to be able to come through this difficult period and, deliver.
I'm so happy for him, and I'm so happy we got these last 3 games. They didn't get swept. If for nothing else, then the discourse about Pascal after Game 3 was so bad, like it often is. Just slandering him, and I think he proved with these last 3 games that he's taken a major leap from where he was even a couple of years ago, even where he was being a key player on a championship team. I remember having a conversation early, like maybe a month and a half into this year with a friend where we're like, has Pascal just plateaued forever? I mean, we knew he was coming off injury and so on, but like it really seemed like, there was that period where it's like, is Pascal impeding Scotty's development? Is the team worse? I never thought he was worse. The team was worse with Pascal, but like they weren't playing very well. And I think he showed that he's still on an upward trajectory. He has not come close to hitting his plateau. He's still adding stuff to his game. And it reminded me a bit of what we saw from DeMar late in his Raptors tenure. Like for all DeMar's flaws, he went from someone who would just like pure, bucket getter to someone who's making plays, creating for others. And I think we saw that kind of playmaking leap from Pascal as well this year.
Yeah. Second question for you guys. After this first round series, does Joel Embiid belong on the list of all-time Raptors playoff villains? Daniel, I'll start with you.
Absolutely. I mean, even Paul Pierce was not this gleefully obnoxious. Like for all the hate we dumped on Paul Pierce, like what did he even really do? Like he held up like a be quiet kind of finger to his lips at one point. Like he made some like mildly sarcastic jabs through the press. He wasn't bringing back like callback trolls, from years prior, like the airplane. He wasn't getting into it with the crowd in quite this way. So yeah, Joel Embiid, his Twitter name is Joel Troel Embiid. He's a gleeful troll, and yeah, he's a troll. So absolutely.
Yeah, I guess I'd have to agree too. Mostly because I think in the case of Paul Pierce, like he was at a later stage of his career. He wasn't even the main guy on that Wizards team, or the main guy on that Nets team. He was just kind of like actively trolling. I never really thought that the Raptors got to him in a way. I think what was fun about the Joel experience was that you could see when the Raptors bothered him. So it wasn't just like a one-way experience of like, oh, he was antagonizing the Raptors. Of course he did that, right? He was, again, celebrating as anyone would after hitting a game winner in game 3 like that. And of course, like in game 6, the airplane, all that stuff. But the Raptors also handed it back to him, and you saw the frustration on his face, and you saw that. And that to me was like really satisfying to watch, to make what is an objectively a really great player, to feel some of that heat, to feel some of that frustration was awesome. And for him, he really did keep that same energy. It was great. Like, when he lost, he was angry and losing. And when he won, he was gleeful in our demise. And quite frankly, he was the main engineer of that demise. So, you have to give him some credit there. And quite frankly, the crowd really enjoyed booing him. And when Pascal elbowed him in the head on a basketball move,
accidentally,
a basketball move, right? He just led through with the elbow, just like Joel accidentally stepped on Scotty's foot. And it's like, you know what? People cheered it and you move on. But it's also like that's what ultimately is really good about sports, is when you can add this level of heat, this level of antagonism to everything. It really makes it really compelling and really good to watch. So honestly, even just from a content perspective, good for Joel.
There are not that many Raptors playoff villains just because like they haven't spent that much time in the playoffs. Like those Knicks teams, I mean, I guess like no one really hated Latrell Sprewell. The Cavs teams, I mean, like LeBron, but he's LeBron.
Mm-hmm,
we just hate him because he's amazing. So we haven't had that many like actual foils. So yeah, he's up there.
And plus to the point with LeBron, right? Like the difference was, okay, Raptors win 2 games back in 2016. The series is tied 2-2. And what does LeBron say? I've been in a lot of adverse situations. This isn't one of them. And I'm like, damn. So even after we even the series, like I don't see no sweat on your brow, nothing. Like he's just gonna come back and beat you and close you out, which is exactly what happened. Like with Joel, I saw him pressed, right? And that kind of made it more fun for me. Like I felt like a bit of hope that like we could really do this.
Yeah, I would disagree with the two of you just because I would still put Paul Pierce and LeBron ahead of Joel.
No, I put LeBron ahead of Joel, no doubt. Yeah. But he's on the pantheon, I think, now. Not top 3, I would say.
Because like we never had a response for Paul Pierce, we never had a response for LeBron. Whereas this rivalry with the Sixers and Embiid, like we already had the upper hand coming in from the championship season.
And by the way, we still do, to be clear. We still do.
Yeah.
We still do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but listen, like that Game 3 performance from him, hitting that game-winning 3.
That changed the whole series, man.
Yeah, and what he did last night as well in the clinching game, you definitely do have to, unfortunately, hand it to him. Next question, number 3. I think Scotty Barnes is obviously everybody's number one reason for optimism moving forward about the Raptors. What would be your next reason for optimism about this core group? Daniel?
Well, we covered Pascal's continued improvement. I mean, I think I would say Precious. which is crazy because I live in DC and I went to a Raps Wizards game early in the year where I said to my partner, like, we just need to survive these precious minutes. Like, we need to get Kem Birch back on the court as soon as possible. He was, there was a period where he shot a combined, I don't know what it was 5 for 25 or something over the course of 3 games. He could not make a layup. He seemed lost defensively. And now it's like, do we have a potential future all-star? I'm not talking next year, but could Precious, with the combination of defense and offensive improvement, be a fantastic big, not just a kind of change of pace guy? So that I think he, if he can get to where it seems like maybe there's a 30 to 50% chance he can get there, I think that would really raise the ceiling of this group.
Yeah, I agree. Precious is definitely the right answer. Obviously, Pascal and Scotty are also positives to sort of take away from the series. I'm going to go a little off the board, and I will say that I saw a lot of I don't know, characteristically positive moments from Gary Trent. And what I mean by that is he wasn't scared to play his role when the pressure got on him too. When the Raptors were facing elimination, Gary obviously had some really nice games. I thought yesterday, he got hunted defensively. There's things for him to improve on that front. Luckily, we've seen him take a step forward defensively this year, but it's got to take a couple more steps forward. But to me, what I saw was a guy who was willing to take the shots, wasn't afraid at all, wasn't afraid to go at these guys. And he drove a lot against Joel, didn't really score a lot, but he was willing to take it. And for him, it's that's the mentality you absolutely have to have as a scorer. Last thing you want to see from a scorer is to be afraid to take the shot. And Gary's never afraid to do that. And I respect him a lot for it. I think there's still lots of improvements for him to make, but he's a 23-year-old. There's a lot of runway for him to get better. Having done so many interviews with Gary Trent Sr., I know his dad's going to be on him to keep getting better. And no, I want to see him grow in the system because I think he brings what the Raptors need, which is guard play, consistent three-point shooting, and that little extra ability of who can get hot for 10 minutes here and really kind of propel us. And I don't think we saw enough out of Gary this series. Obviously, he was being sick, didn't really help whatsoever. But I'm feeling pretty positive about him overall. Of course, there are real weaknesses he's got to address, but I trust that he can do that because if you can get those weaknesses down, you have the makings of a very, very useful player who is not shy of the moment in the playoffs.
Yeah, for me, I don't know if this is a cop-out answer, but I think the reason for optimism for me is just looking at what Masai and Bobby continue to do, and just the infrastructure of this team. You look at nailing the Scotty Barnes pick. I don't want to do any comparisons of what if we took Jalen Suggs, but if they took another player that didn't have the potential of Scotty, we're having a very different conversation right now about the future of this team. And then you look at, Daniel, you mentioned kind of the Vision 6-9 and all of that. I think while it's not perfect, and I agree with you on that, I love that they're willing to kind of bet on, things that they believe in. And I think they have the perfect head coach to do that too in Nick Nurse.